About the slight delay, just sorting a few things out. Again, just acknowledging Te Wiki o Te Reo Māori, and I'm not too sure if translation will be required today. If it hasn't been, no, we haven't. There's been no request, but we acknowledge warmly our endeavours during the day to use and support the use of Māori and the Chamber. I also want to acknowledge, and Councillor Philippine has just reminded me, that today is the 75th anniversary of Women in the Police, and several of us had been invited to various celebrations around the region. Sadly, we're here, but I think it is quite a momentous milestone that should be recognised, particularly to our extraordinary women in the police today. Now, apologies. We've got apologies from Councillor Cooper, absence, Councillor Brewer, Sir John and Wayne for lateness, and Councillor Clough for early departure. I'm happy to move those. Someone would second that. Councillor Clough, I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
We need to do that. It's sort of, I know that it's early in the morning, but that's appreciated. Against, carried. Declarations of interest. There are no declarations.
Madam Chair,
so
I will not take part in the approval of plan change for Matakana Country Park.
Matakana Country Park for Councillor Webster. Noted.
Item 11.
Good. Confirmation of minutes. I'll move the confirmation of minutes for the 4th of July. Councillor Penrose will second. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Against? Carried. Petitions, there are none. Now, public input, you'll note that we were going to have public input from Michael Wood and the Puke Tāpapa Board, as well as a couple of members of the public on the Liston Village issue. That issue has now been withdrawn temporarily. Michael's requested that we deal with this at a later date. They're still working on it, and we'll wait for it to come back to us. And we've got Simon Randall, who's asked to speak on the Tamaki project and East-West Link, and I think, Simon, it might be best just to do it at those agenda items. It will make much more sense. Extraordinary business, there is none. Notices of motion, none. And the next item then is reports pending, which is item 9.
Move 9.
Peter, second that. Thank you, Councillor Darby. Any questions, issues? No. I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye.
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 It's carried.
Move 10.
And 10. I'll second that. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Councillor Darby. Now, 11. So Councillor Webster will stand aside from item 11. We've got 2 plan changes, item 11 and item 12. Thank you. Warren.
Good morning, councillors. Plan change, the 2 plan changes you've got here are pretty much the last 2 operative plan changes that I will have to do until the unitary plan becomes operative itself. So some of these, so these are 2 legacy plan changes. The first one is Matakana Country Park, which...
Warren, can you pull the speaker across?
This one, Mark.
Pull the speaker
Oh,
across.
sorry. Which, after a fairly long and protracted plan change process and appeal process, has finally been settled. So the change really provides for the activities which happen at the Matakana Country Park, which is just out of Matakana, a few kilometres out. Farmers market, museum and so on. Those activities will continue, and there will be some limited development of the site for visitor accommodation, and that's been the area that that has taken a wee while to get sorted. So that is now done. The Environment Court has approved a consent order, and it is now ready for you to formally approve the plan change, and we can make it operative. I should also say that a similar precinct on this, exactly on this spot, takes the same provisions, and the council position is that that goes into the unitary plan.
It's really clear.
Happy to move it, Madam
Someone
Chair.
happy to move?
Yep.
Thank you. Councillor Penrose, seconded. Councillor Walker.
I didn't want to second it.
Oh, you didn't want to second it?
I just wanted to speak.
Here we go.
I'll do.
Okay. Councillor Filipino will second. Did you have a question, Councillor Walker?
Not a question, just a very brief comment. And really, this is an instance of a long-running development that started in a rather small way, and through accretion and addition and numerous approaches via the Rodney District Council, has its present status. It is a development that frankly is of a size and character that should never have been in this location, but that's the sort of thing that happened under the Rodney District Council. That's all I wanted to say.
Fair enough. We note your comments, Councillor. However, driving past it most weekends, it's loved and well used and thriving. So it's been moved and seconded. I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. And our second one, you as well, Warren.
So the second one is a small residential development at Dawsons Road near, which is on the edge of Snell's Beach. It was a private plan change. It's been through all of its processes. It had some hiccups, I guess, along the way as we sorted out potential sewerage in an area where there wasn't a lot of capacity at all there. So an interim solution's been agreed, and that was probably the key issue. So that has been through its plan change process. No appeals were received. Again, we have ensured that the same provisions have been proposed for the unitary plan, so that even though this operative plan has a life of maybe a few weeks, it will continue into the unitary plan. So again, all the process has gone through, and it is now there for you to make the final stamp of approval.
I'm happy to move, Madam
Happy
Chair.
to
This is
move.
right opposite the new primary school, so it makes sense. And I haven't had anything to do with this one.
Thank you, Councillor Webster. Seconded, Councillor Walker?
No, didn't want to
Nope,
second.
not second.
Just had a-
Councillor.
Just had a
Councillor
question, Madam
Penrose.
Chair.
That's fine.
didn't you?
Roughly in terms of reserve for this development, what are we looking at in percentage terms in reserve area?
I couldn't tell you that
Right opposite
precisely.
the
I'm
reserve.
happy to find that information out. I think it is adjacent to.
It's right opposite a reserve, which is next to the school.
Through you, Madam Chair, I was talking to the officer.
Councillor, yes, no, I'm aware of that. On the other hand, if the officer didn't have the information available and someone else did, that's not.
But that wasn't the
that's not
information I was
unhelpful.
after.
Okay.
My question was, what is the amount of reserve associated that is integral to this development?
Okay.
Not the reserve that happened to be already there.
Okay.
It would be interesting to know.
So
That-
I'm
that
happy to
information can
find that
come back to
information
you.
out and let you know.
Thank you.
Okay. So that's been moved and seconded. I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried.
They're rocking
Thank
it.
you. Thanks, Warren.
This is
So we're now up to items 13 and 14.
Happy to move 13.
Okay, what we were going to do for 13 and 14 is just remind people briefly, and thank you, we'll note that, Councillor Watson. We just thought it would be good to remind people of the process that's being proposed, which kind of covers both items. So if councillor Watson's happy to move, is there a seconder?
I'll second it.
For his, councillor Webster, and we'll just park that, quickly take the process discussion, and then we'll go back to the recommendation.
Right, thank you. What we're going to do is a bit of an introduction of the process itself to be gone through, and then we've got these two particular projects, the Northern Corridor improvements and the East-West link. And Paulina Whites will take you through the East-West link, and I'll take you through the Northern Corridor one. So, I don't know where this is. So I guess firstly, this is particularly about the process that the NZTA wants to use to go through a consenting process, consenting and designations. So a letter has come in from the Environmental Protection Authority, and a number of councillors will recall that we've done these EPA processes several times now. We've gone through it for Waterview, for the Wirri Correctional Facility, for the Puhoi to Wellsford Rons. I think those are the three. Yep. So there are, so many of you will know about the process, and some of you will have participated. So the beginning of the process is that they write to us asking our views on whether the project is of national significance, whether it should be referred to a board of inquiry, or whether it should go as a direct referral to the Environment Court, or whether it should be processed as normal by council. So that's the letter that we always get. They also ask us, in the event that the Minister proceeds with a Board of Inquiry process, whether we might have any suggestions for a Board of Inquiry members to sit on that. So those are the questions that we're asking for both of these projects, or that we're answering, hopefully, for both of these projects. So it's very much a process part, although we'll give you a little bit of content just to help make those decisions. But the real merit considerations, is the project good, are there improvements that can be made or whatever, that comes later on, and we'll have that chance later, and we'll come back to you with a report on that. So the processes that we go through, so as I said, there's three options here: the normal council process, the direct referral, and the Environmental Protection Agency process. The council process, up on the screen at the moment, you'll recognise that as the way that a normal set of designations and resource consent applications are followed. And that can take a bit of time. There's the notification, the hearings, the decision if it's a resource consent, or the recommendation if it's a notice of requirement, and then the requiring authority, in this case it would be NZT, confirms that, and then you get to appeals in the Environment Court. So it's quite a lengthy process for a designation. The second option is the direct referral to the Environment Court, where again the application's lodged with the council, we call for submissions, and at that point the council or the hearings committee in this stage says, yes, we'd like it to be direct referred. So there's an application made there, so it goes directly to the Environment Court. And we have had some projects go through that. The third option, which the EPA is asking us about, is this is the actual EPA process. And you'll see there in the series of boxes, first of all, I guess first of all it's around lodging the application, and they would do that as per normal. So it's lodged with the EPA, and then within 20 working days the EPA has to make a recommendation to the Minister as to whether or not to make a recommendation that it does become an an EPA project. So the EPA makes that recommendation to the Minister. The Minister doesn't actually have a time frame to decide on that, but he does have to, he's got a duty to avoid unreasonable delay, so he would make that within a week or two. Then the EPA notifies the proposal, and that starts the clock ticking. Once that is publicly notified, there is 9 months to get through the process. And so that means that it's notified before it gets to a hearing. The EPA may have public meetings for submitters. It has done in the past. It could have a friend of submitters who helps people with their submissions, and usually that's an independent consultant. It may even run pre-hearing meetings and mediation and so on.